She blocked my driveway with her SUV, thinking the HOA backed her up. What she didn't know? I owned the easement, called the tow truck, and recorded everything. It was one of those crisp Saturday mornings, where the air smelled like fresh-cut pine and possibility. I had just brewed a strong cup of black coffee, black as Judgment Day, and was about to head out to meet a contractor when I saw it. An obnoxiously large white SUV parked sideways across my gravel driveway, blocking it completely, like a barricade at the end of a war movie. At first, I thought it was an emergency. Maybe a car broke down, or a delivery driver got lost. But then I saw her. Karen. Frosted hair. HOA badge clipped to her fleece vest. Standing next to her vehicle with a clipboard. Like she was guarding Buckingham Palace. She didn't flinch when I approached. "You can't access this road right now," she said flatly. "It's HOA business. Maintenance is being scheduled." I stared at her, then at the SUV blocking my private easement. The same easement I paid to have surveyed, graded and legally recorded when I bought this land. I kept calm. "This is my driveway, on my easement. You don't have any authority here." She smiled, that infuriating dismissive smile. "We'll see about that." Oh, we would, because what Karen didn't know? This wasn't just a driveway. It was the line in the sand, and I had every intention of defending it with facts, patience, and one very expensive tow truck. Let's rewind a few weeks. I'd just moved into my home, a cabin-style retreat tucked on 3 wooded acres, just outside the invisible fences of whispering pines. A high and mighty HOA that cared more about mulch color than common sense. My land was older than the HOA itself, with the perfectly legal, county-registered private easement running through the outer edge of their jurisdiction. In short, I didn't owe them a dime. But Karen? Karen lived for the clipboard. And my independence burned her like a badly timed chemical peel. It began with passive notes. Just a reminder about lawn conformity. HOA recommends earth tone finishes on visible structures. I don't even have visible structures, Karen. I live in a forest. Then came the bold moves. She called a tow truck on my contractor's pickup, even though it was parked 10 feet from the HOA road, on my gravel loop. I caught it just in time and confronted the driver. He said, "She does this to everyone." Next, the violation slips started appearing. Unsigned, of course, citing unauthorized fencing, non-conforming paint color, and improper refuse containment. I have no fence. My cabin is stained cedar, and my trash cans are bear-proof and invisible from the road. But facts, as you'll see, were never Karen's strong suit. I tried talking to her, politely. "I'm not in your HOA," I said. "You don't have any jurisdiction here." She sniffed like I'd insulted her petunias. "Your property borders ours. That makes it part of the visual community." Visual community. That's when I knew I was dealing with a cult member, not a neighbor. Then came the blockade. I woke up, coffee in hand, ready to go meet an HVAC guy. And there it was. Her SUV parked sideways across my easement. Engine off, windows up. She wasn't in it. She was standing to the side, clipboard ready like she was overseeing a military checkpoint. 2 HOA board members were standing with her. One of them, Todd or Tad, I forget, looked like he just stepped out of a Banana Republic catalog but had the spine of wet spaghetti. They stood there like sentries. "This easement is under review," she said when I approached. I laughed. "Karen, this easement doesn't answer to your review board." She didn't budge. "Our community has voted to reclassify this as shared use space." "Oh, really? Reclassify?" I told her she could reclassify a coloring book, but not a court-registered easement. That's when I walked away. Quietly. Because the quieter I am, the more dangerous I become. That night, I began my plan. First, I visited the county records office and had copies made. Surveys, plats, everything. Then I called my lawyer, who was already familiar with HOA overreach syndrome, as he called it. I installed high-definition motion cameras on a tree facing the easement. And finally, I put up a brand new impossible-to-miss sign. Private easement. Trespassing vehicles will be towed. The next evening, the SUV was back. Same spot, no driver. This time I didn't knock. I called the tow truck. Karen burst out of nowhere, running barefoot across the lawn, screaming at the tow driver while waving her HOA badge like it was a federal marshal's ID. She accused me of harassment, of intimidation, of threatening the community. When the sheriff pulled up, it was the same one I talked to weeks ago. took one look at the paperwork I handed him and said, "Karen, this isn't HOA jurisdiction. This is trespassing." She went pale, like old cottage cheese, but the saga didn't end there. 2 days later, I got a formal HOA summons demanding I attend a disciplinary hearing for endangering residents and refusing compliance. I replied with a cease and desist letter on my attorney's letterhead. Attached were the easement deeds, video footage, county maps, and a highlighted section of state law regarding false claims and nuisance action. Then came her final gambit. Karen filed a community safety petition to restrict non-HOA access during quiet hours. She posted flyers, held a board vote, tried to scare residents into thinking I was a threat. It backfired spectacularly. Turns out people don't like being manipulated. One elderly couple stood up at the meeting and asked why their grandkids weren't allowed to ride bikes near my place anymore. Another neighbor asked why Karen's SUV had been blocking driveways. And one guy, he called her a self-deputized landscaping tyrant to her face. After that meeting, I threw a party. Yep, a barbecue right at the easement. I invited every neighbor within walking distance, including several HOA residents who secretly hated the board. We grilled ribs, played classic country, and even made t-shirts that said, "Not in your HOA." Karen walked by during the party and saw laminated copies of my easement deed, stapled to a 6-foot post beside my driveway. She didn't say a word, just stared at it like it had insulted her ancestors. I even hired a local artist to paint a mural. On the back of the easement sign, a peaceful cabin, a gravel driveway, and a tow truck pulling away a suspiciously familiar white SUV. The cherry on top? A month later, Karen was voted off the HOA board in a surprise election. Word got around. Her intimidation tactics weren't just embarrassing, they were costing the HOA legal fees. Several residents admitted to being fined for fake violations over the years. The board turned on her, quietly, efficiently, ruthlessly. I haven't seen her car on my property since. Sometimes justice isn't loud. It's legal, precise, and parked exactly where it's allowed to be. So if someone ever tries to park their authority on your land, let them. Then park a tow truck behind them. Comment Easement Victory if you made it to the end, and tell me in the comments, what would you have done? Because in this neighborhood, revenge comes with paperwork, brisket, and an easement deed printed in bold, and yes, laminated for dramatic effect. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more crazy revenge stories.